All right, welcome everybody to the Akash Steering Committee. It is October 31st, 2024. During these monthly meetings, the steering committee gets together, talks about everything that's happened over the course of that month in terms of SIGs, working groups, and beyond. We follow a typical agenda, which I will move over to now. But again, if anybody has any specific items that they want to discuss as a part of the steering committee, again, please drop them in. We usually try to have these things in advance because oftentimes we have a full plate of agenda items. But again, if there's anything specific that anybody wants discussed, feel free to drop it in here now. All right. Again, you can look at notes from past meetings here, notes, transcripts, recordings for all the steering committees since January of 2023 are available here. Again, one of the things we start off by doing is reviewing, discussing, and addressing any community feedback, grievances, or conflicts. This could be anything you see in SIG's working group structure, anything that you think can be improved on. Feel free to raise your hand and we can discuss those things right now. Cool. Well, again, if anybody sees anything between meetings, feel free to reach out to myself or any member of the core team, insiders, etc. And we can, again, continue to improve the process, make it easier for folks to contribute, get involved, etc. All right, continuing on. One of the big items that we discussed during these steering committee calls is the project boards. Again, these are transparent, public-facing boards that anybody from the community can kind of track what's going on across community marketing initiatives as well as product and engineering. You can see our roadmap, and these items are discussed at steering committee as well as other SIGs and working groups and continually updated by members of the core team and other members of the community that are working on specific efforts. So if you're ever interested in what's going on, what's on the future of the roadmap across, again, product and engineering, again, please look out. This is always constantly being worked on and constantly being updated. I know some members of our community and marketing team have been working hard and have been on the road well over the last month. And it's just been, again, a tireless amount of work that's been done. I do want to kick it off by handing it over to Amanda to just talk a little bit about some of the events that have gone on over the last month, including Cosmoverse and others, as well as a look forward to, again, some of the events that are on the horizon.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. So about a month ago, I'll start with permissionless. 3 of us from the core team were able to go to permissionless in Salt Lake City. We had a booth, we had a couple different speaking engagements and an official side event during that week. It went really well. I felt like the conference had a lot of really high quality people that came by, a lot of developers, specifically AI developers that were interested in talking with us. Zach and I were manning the booth, and I think as far as like quality leads and the amount of leads, it was up there with the amount total that we got altogether going to token. So it was a really good success for us there. And then we just a week or so ago got back from Cosmoverse in Dubai. That event was really good. A 3-day event. Greg, we actually led the AI track at Cosmoverse, so we were able to have our branding front and center, as well as multiple speaking opportunities by both Greg, Anil, and Zach. So that was really awesome. We also hosted a AI after party following our AI track day, just right next door. We had 300 plus attendees show up, so we were able to really like flex our branding there and just prove that Akash branding is as strong as it is right now. So that was really great. Looking forward to the next month. We don't have any travel per se in November, a few like hackathons that we might be visiting this month, but then we're really focusing our efforts on NeurIPS, which is in Vancouver this year from the dates November 9th through the 14th. So Akash will be doing a larger booth at the main event, as well as Greg got accepted to be a speaker on the main stage. And we are planning on doing a social house just right down the road at a really cool venue. It used to be an old bank. So we have that space for 2 days. We're going to have some workshops, some special speakers. We're finalizing that now, as well as just like a space for people to come and network and talk. And if they wanted to hack, they can have Akash Compute that we're going to give credits for, and just kind of build our branding in the more AI space. So looking forward to that, doing a lot of planning. So that is taking a lot of time right now. And I think that will put us through to the end of the year. And then already, honestly, working on ETH Denver events, which is in February. So things are moving rather quickly, and it's exciting.
Excellent. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, everybody that's been involved in all those events over the last month and as we look forward. As a reminder, again, there's been a lot of discussion in GitHub around Q4 proposal, and now there's a vote on chain. So if you have the ability to vote, please do so as we continue to, again, fine tune and continue to build the brand that's already very strong. So much appreciate everyone's time. Does anyone have any questions for Amanda about anything events related? I know she has to head out very soon to some other obligations. Cool. All right. We talked about it in, again, a bi-weekly working group around the website and docs. Again, there's folks that contribute to console. If you are contributing in any way via the SIGs and working group structure, please make your contributions known via comments inside the specific area in which you're, again, contributing. This helps with transparency and making sure it's easy for folks that are contributing to get rewarded for those contributions. So again, just want to make that clear to everybody that you can look on this board. Again, get involved in the SIGs and working groups. We discuss specific issues that need solving inside each of the repos. And then again, if anybody can get involved from the community, we look for those contributions. So thank you to all that are getting involved. I did see that Robert had some items specifically that he wanted to discuss on the community and marketing side. So Robert, I'll give you the floor to quickly talk about Zealy and the Akash YouTube working group.
Thank you, Tyler. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Really cool. So yeah, as some of you may know, Iver and I are leading the Akash Dev onboarding campaign on Zealy. It's a platform that helps us create missions and make it look like a game to engage with Akash. Actually, this is the second 3-month campaign. So we basically do 6 months of campaign on Zealy, engaging with more than 2,000 people, which is awesome. Sprint number 3 of the second season ended just yesterday. So right now we're just doing the math to determine the amount of rewards that are going to be paid out. We're going to start paying out those rewards on Monday. You can also expect our Zealy working group call happens every Monday. So on next Monday in our call, you can also expect the project status report. In that report, we add information, analytics, like we add how many people are engaging with the platform and more stuff that we share with the community. So you can see how we are doing and how is Akash benefiting from this. So yeah, really cool. It was wild trying to manage this while on the road during Cosmoverse, but we managed to do it. Actually very happy for the support I got from Benji and also more people that engaged with this. We had a really good call during Cosmoverse. I actually shared the screen. Sorry, I shared my camera during Cosmoverse, and like 20 people joined that Zealy working group call, and they were very happy to see our Akash booth in Cosmoverse and got really excited. One thing that I can tell you is that yes, the campaigns are done and anything, but we created a document and we compiled like the best of the best submissions that we got on Zealy, from guides and videos to designs. all those best of the best, like really, really good quality submissions, we have them in a document, and we're gonna share those with you also very soon. We will give some extra rewards to those participants going the extra mile. So as for now, on November, the first 2 weeks of November, only expect the rewards being paid out, but no more sprints at the moment. We are actually redesigning the process, and we want to make it look more like an user journey. Like the next phases of Sealy or whatever tool that we decide to use to do this, we want to make it look like a journey where people get to know Akash, they join the social media, read the documentation, they start deploying and doing stuff on Akash, and then at the end we show them how to get involved in GitHub. Like a star, when you put a star in one of the repos to get all the updates, there's gonna be mission about that, so people can start the Akash GitHub stuff, and yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be really nice. Like we're gonna go back to the roots of Sealy, like onboarding new developers. We are very thankful for the people participating every month in the sprints, but with this user journey, we want to go back to the initial goal of this campaign, which was attract new developers to Akash. So it's a concept we're still developing it. So that's the work we're going to do in the following weeks, and hopefully we can release that to the public in the next 2 weeks, like mid-November. So that's that on Sealy. Let me know if you guys have any question about it. 1, 2, 3. No,
Thank
that's
you.
okay. You can also drop any questions in the chat or go directly to the city chat for more stuff. In regards to Akash YouTube, like 1 or 2 months ago, we started the Akash revamping efforts. We believe like the Akash branding is super strong, and we can complement that having a strong YouTube channel. So I got many insights from the insiders going to Cosmoverse, many cool ideas that I'm drafting in a proposal. So in that proposal, I'm gonna show you like the next phases of the Akash YouTube and how we believe we can better use this platform to educate people on Akash. Like just to tell you a little something is that we want to focus on technical videos of Akash, like how to do deployments, the different aspects of the console, the Akash chat, how to contribute on GitHub. Those things that we say on the calls, that we say them, right? We want to turn those into videos that people can see and actually learn how to get involved and contribute to Akash. So that's the only thing I wanted to say on YouTube. At the moment, we have 20 videos uploaded from the steering committee calls. I'm waiting for approval to go live. That should happen very soon. But after those videos are live, the focus is going to be on creating technical videos about the different aspects of Akash Network. Yeah, that's that. The next YouTube working group call, forgive me, Tai, I don't know when it's going to happen. Maybe we can have it on next Tuesday, the 5th, or the following Tuesday. Either way works fine for me.
Excellent. Thank you, Robert, for that detailed update across Zealy and the Akash YouTube. Again, there's specific working groups for Zealy that meets Mondays, as well as the working group around the Akash YouTube, which again, I will make an announcement and add it to the calendar, which everybody can track at akash.network/development. So I'll put a link to that in the chat for folks to just track the calendar. They can add SIGs and working groups to their own calendars and stay up to date on when meetings are across the month. Go ahead, Robert.
Yes, the third topic I had was an introduction to LATAM nodes. The guys approached me during Cosmoverse, and they told me they have a big data center and they want to talk to the Akash team and find the best ways to work together. So I don't know if that can happen by the end of this call after everybody shares their updates, but just wanted to give you the heads up about LATAM nodes. Actually, many validators pass by the Akash booth saying they have resources for Akash and also inquiring about the foundation delegation program. So I don't know if they're in this call already, but just giving you the heads ups. Thank you again.
Excellent. I think we can take that conversation outside of the steering committee call, just because, again, we can handle that elsewhere. But I'll follow up with you and get the necessary folks together to talk about that. Go ahead, Michael. Pico, sorry if I'm butchering your name. Oh. I don't know if you're trying to speak, but I do want to move on just for the sake of time, because I know there's some discussions that we want to get to as well. Again, as Amanda alluded to, there's a couple of hackathons on the horizon for folks that want to get involved or want to learn more. Again, there's the SIG community where we talk about everything from events to hackathons to just the Akash community in general. So again, this is where these topics are discussed in more depth. And there's more focused discussion from folks that are very passionate about these topics. So again, I don't know if Adam specifically had anything that he wanted to cover. Don't feel obliged, but again, I know that there are some recent messaging that went out around the Akash Hackathon 3. We just discussed it on a couple of previous calls, but just wanted to call that out here today as another initiative, as well as I believe there's a Meta hackathon that's going to be going on in Brazil that Akash is going to be supporting and sponsoring in a number of different ways, and that's coming up quite soon as well. Cool. I did want to see if there's anything else on this marketing board or anything else that we've discussed in SIGs and working groups that folks want to talk about right now before I quickly jump over to the product and engineering roadmap. Yeah, we'll get to the PIP during the discussion portion. Thank you, Zeke, for bringing that up. All right, moving on to the product and engineering roadmap. Again, this is another area that gets updated consistently by members of the product team, core engineering, etc. There are various people working on projects across product and engineering side. So again, we look to get updates from folks. I know one of the bigger things that's been tracked is the upgrade to Cosmos SDK 47. Again, we talked about this during SIG chain. I do want to kick it over to Artur real quick just to talk about where we are. I know that we have an active testnet, and again, some messaging is going to go out to some folks in the community that have showed interest in getting involved in that initial testnet. But I just want to see if there's anything at a high level that Artur wanted to discuss around Cosmos SDK 47 upgrade or anything else on the product and engineering roadmap.
Thanks, Tyler. I'll try to be quite quick here. Regarding SDK 47, yes, we finally started our first testnet literally yesterday. There have been a couple mishaps that we had with the ramping it up, but they all been sorted, and that's pretty much good news. We're gonna keep this testnet at this moment quite low on participation. Reason being is there are still a couple things that are not quite stable, and we just want to make sure that we solve all of them first before we allow wider participation for the testnet. And our hope is that probably in 2 weeks we should be able to expand participation. Then moving on to the provider, there have been a couple things related to the provider stability things, as well as the inventory, like issue 259, and the core team is just diligently working to cover all of those issues and keep releasing new features as well as bug fixes. I think that covers this. Oh no, one more thing. It's sort of more broadband. We have finally got our snapshot service up and running. Huge thanks to Zeke for completing that task, and it's pretty much done by the community. This is a great example of community participation in the Akash in Akash efforts, as well as a little bit of credit goes to Luna for working on our inventory exporter for the Prometheus. I saw first PR just like literally a couple minutes ago, and hopefully we're gonna get released it soon. And I think that covered it. Tyler, back to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Archer. We discussed it in SIG providers yesterday. I know there's been a significant amount of work from the product team around the provider side of Akash Console as a part of the Console 2.0 effort. So again, whether it be the free trials that have come recently, fiat payments, just as this number of new work coming out of the Console 2.0 efforts, and I think there's going to be continued work from some of the efforts from Human HQ, and just like continuing to, again, improve on the console experience. So big shout out to the product team for all the work that they've been doing, and for the community for continuing testing, feedback, etc. Just want to see if there was anything else more specifically. Again, you can get a demo. We got a demo on the provider side of the console from Jigger yesterday during SIG providers. The video and the transcript will be available soon, so you can take a look at that. But I just want to see if there was anything else specifically on the product and engineering roadmap that anybody wanted to discuss more specifically before we jump into some discussions. Cool. All right. If not, then again, we're at the part of the agenda where we will dive into some of the active discussions. Again, usually we try to carve out some time during the steering committee for discussions that are getting a fair amount of traction. I know there's two discussions that we'll be talking about today. One is the discussion for rare protocol and Akash Network full integration, and the other discussion that we'll discuss in a little bit more detail is around the provider incentives pilot number 2, which is currently on chain for vote after, again, discussion for a number of weeks. Cool. I think we'll start off with the rare protocol. And then, we'll take a couple of minutes to get, I know that there's a couple of participants that have taken some time out of their day to join us today. So I want to kick it over to Garrett and Ed from the Rare Protocol team. Again, usually what we do is folks have already read through the discussion in great detail. Garrett and Ed, if you can give a high level on, Rare Protocol, the benefits to the network, and then maybe a follow-up to any of the open discussions, then we can just spend maybe 2 to 5 minutes talking about this discussion and figure out next steps. And then from there, we can jump into the PIP 02 discussion following that. With that said, I'll hand it over to Garrett, and you can just kick us off.
Awesome. Thanks, Tyler. And thanks so much for having us on. We've really enjoyed getting to know the Akash community and also get our open deployment layer. I would say an MVP version of our stack is already up and operational on the Akash marketplace, which is super cool. And yeah, thanks so much to Zeke, especially for helping us figure out exactly how to structure the SDL to get all of that working. We have our 6 core microservices that encapsulate the protocol are now on, and kind of an MVP version on the Akash marketplace to deploy, which is super cool. So as a really high level, I'm the founder of Rare Protocol, also the CTO, and then Ed, who's on the call, is our CEO and does all of our awesome partnerships and integrations, all the business side of the house. So I can speak, some to the tech side and our big picture reasoning for really wanting to decentralize the compute layer of our stack. So we originally started as enterprise SaaS DApp development software products, where kind of doing the same approach as like the Third Webs and the Buttons and those kind of companies of the world. And through the bear market, kind of decided to do this quite interesting pivot to a fully open source deployment layer. So sorry about the airport. nonsense in the background. Since we've kind of pivoted to open source, we've had all sorts of awesome things happen to the project. I got picked up by a quite prestigious accelerator, so we're part of the Redbeard Ventures token accelerator now, and has really helped us grow, our dev community. We're about 3,500 devs strong in our GitHub now. And as part of this mission to kind of democratize deploying dApps more easily and in an open source way, we also want to basically open up the compute layer and kind of get off of GCP. When we originally developed the core software, everything was very much built around a GCP Kubernetes setup. And to scale and to like fulfill the mission of having like an open deployment layer, we want to have, of course, the underlying compute, also be open and permissionless. So that's kind of the big goal behind what we want to do. And then our proposal is basically focusing on in the first phase, all of the very like specific things that we think we can do to make it easier for new developers to pick up our open deployment layer and deploy it onto Akash. Things like kind of ironing out some of the finer points with SSL, to kind of see some of the other items. And then with the second phase, to really figure out how we can make a feature parity version of our deployment layer with all the same scaling features and functionalities that we currently have on GCP. So anyway, that's a high level. I don't know, Ed, if you wanted to say anything.
Yeah, I'll just add, it's great to be here. We've loved working with you. We've been to several conferences. We're getting a lot of signal on Akash and certainly the AI part. One of the things that was interesting when we spoke to Cheng is that we represent a way to monetize and leverage your plain vanilla compute away from AI, which I think is a really important part of your model. And we also represent, a Web3 sort of integration and developer group that we can bring in and actually build dApps. And as we go down this journey, there's going to be more and more integration between AI and Web3. We were just at a conference and tons of people were talking about that. So we think that the time is right, and we think we have the right product, we have the right developers, and we're excited to discuss and see if we can get this done with you guys. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. And again, I've dropped in the discussion in the chat for folks. Again, the ask is from the community pool for, again, their efforts. And so, again, you can check out the entire ask and just get more information on the specifics on top of what Garrett and Ed just mentioned. So is there any specific questions that anybody has at this point while we have two members from the team here live that they want to get answered? Go ahead, Anil.
Hey guys, I'm sorry, I was just actually reviewing the proposal right now as you guys were talking. Maybe I'm missing it, but what exactly is the service? If you could just explain it in like one sentence or two sentences, what does the service do?
Sure. So in a nutshell, the open deployment layer makes it easier for a new developer coming in to deploy a dApp. So instead of starting from scratch, they can start from like a 95, 99% complete dApp. So the full front end, back end, Mongo database, Redis, all of those microservices that we have in the template that I just dropped into the chat, those are all out of the box working. And then effectively to make the dApp their own, they would go in and switch out a few of the underlying like API keys. So, we provide a default like Alchemy key, say, to do the syncing. They could go in, modify the Docker image, and then have their own syncing engine. And importantly, they have their own backend too. That's something that not a lot of other companies kind of in this similar vertical to ours will open source, like Third Web, things like that. They keep a lot of that stuff closed. So yeah, in a nutshell, it's an open source deployment layer that makes building new distributed applications easier.
Got it. So I guess I'm a little confused as to why. So the whole idea with console is to be the tool that people use to deploy stuff onto Akash. And in the past, when we have had people talk about building potential other clients, it's been one of two ways, which is, if you have other platforms that are building something for Web3 or decentralized applications, but trying to compete with something like a Vercel, there's a few projects that have done that. They'll typically integrate Akash as part of their platform and use it purely for infrastructure, along with something like Filecoin or something else for storage. And that's typically something that they just do as part of their platform. What I'm not understanding here is why is this a community proposal for Akash specifically? And also, just looking at the screen that Tyler is sharing, that seems like a really big team for what you're talking about, which is a few SDLs. I mean, we don't have a huge Q automation testing team, just so you know.
Sure, certainly. So I can speak to kind of why Akash. So of course, our infrastructure is all kind of Docker based already. So the way that we've architected it is a bunch of these containerized microservices. Just right now, we're deploying them largely inside of Google, and then our containers are being kind of created and destroyed, and the GKE setup. So we have the way that we've constructed our system, I think, lends itself quite well to how Akash works. It's just that that key difference and that key differentiator is we don't want to have devs to have to pay fiat and use some centralized server that they could get turned off or censored, right? We want to have a native Web3 compute option for our deploying Web3 applications. So that's the the real impetus for us, trying to basically fully decentralize our stack, from kind of the top down, because I think it kind of doesn't matter if you're using the blockchain and have all these awesome decentralized features in your application if it's ultimately running on a compute layer that is run by Google. So yeah, that's the high level reason why we want to do it, and then the more sort of brass tacks way that we're able to accomplish it is by basically porting over all of our existing config maps, like existing manifest files, all that stuff that we've done in Google. We're basically migrating and moving over to Akash. Oh, and it seems like Zhao asked about the syncing. So we have two ways to do syncing in our system. One is a kind of out-of-the-box solution that uses Alchemy largely to do all the RPC type services. We also have a native one where you can pop in your own RPC URLs into the environment variable file of the Docker at build time, and then basically sync that way. And then all of those transactions, when they sync, will then get stored in the Mongo, which is another microservice that gets deployed nicely when that one SDL is run. So basically, when somebody deploys a dApp with our system, they're running their own entire self-sovereign, self-contained dApp infrastructure, including the backend and the rare node microservice, and then their own Mongo in that microservice.
Awesome. I know we need some time for other discussions. I would just ask that anybody here today, if they haven't already, please feel free to drop comments and discussion. Again, this is how we continue to make sure that the community is as involved with everything that has to do with community pool spend. If anybody has any additional questions, thoughts, concerns, votes of approval, whatever the case may be, please drop those in the GitHub discussion, and then we'll continue to, again, fine tune and figure out what the next steps are. But very appreciative of Garrett and Ed taking the time out of their day to join us today. And safe travels, Garrett, for sure. But thank you very much for taking the time.
Awesome, so much. Thanks for having us, and I'll hang on for the rest of the call too. Just listen. So okay, thanks.
Excellent. All right. Again, continuing to move along. Again, there's a couple of other items that are on chain. So again, please get involved in some of these discussions. I know that Huey dropped in some metrics from Q3 events in some of the past quarters. So please track that. But right now, I do want to, because I know that folks have been talking about it and want to talk about it a little bit more, I do want to kick it over to Chang to talk a little bit more at a high level. I know we've talked about it in previous calls prior to this discussion going up, but talk about PIP at the highest level, and then see if there's any questions from anybody here that can be discussed.
Thank you, Tyler. And let me know if Chang bot v1.2 is bothering you guys, and I'll remove the filter here. So in terms of PIP provider incentives pilot number 2, this is the follow-on to provider incentives number 1, right? The first level of incentives was, just for a quick recap and everyone's information, was approximately $5 million in size, and funded approximately 400 additional GPUs that have all to this day, right, been added to Akash Network. And as far as like where we are in the commitment of those funds, initially we started, I think, the first contract with a provider or two back in March of this year. And throughout between March and this point in time, we are still in the process of fully deploying all those funds. Right, all those funds at this point in time have been fully committed. Of course, the spend will continue to move forward. So we do right now. We're at peak basically GPU capacity from PIP 01 chips at this moment in time, and PIP 02 is a double of that size, up to 10 million. And there are a lot of community discussion around that particular item in GitHub as well. And so currently this is, I think, is already on chain for vote. And the idea here, so Ty, if you can scroll down a little bit, so those chips up top in the current table that's been displayed right now are the ones that were committed to in PIP 01. And in the table a little bit further down, these ones right here are the ones that we're expected to, we're estimated to deploy funds towards for PIP 02. Again, these are, high level estimates based on the best of our understanding with us and the core team, rather, in the community at large, right? And this mix can change a little bit over time, right? So this is the essential makeup here. The biggest thing I'll say is the idea here is to bring greater numbers of highly sought after GPUs onto Akash Network to be able to power larger workloads with larger tenants, right? Those are all extremely important, especially as some of these things begin to scale. We're already running up against maximum utilization, as you guys will see if you go to the stats.akash.network today. With trial wallets as well as with credit card payments up online now, we're essentially redline on all of the high-end GPUs we have, and we're at near record, or I think record usage today, which is incredible from the GPU side of things. And so if there are any questions, please drop them in. H180s, of course, the most sought after models there, and L40s, et cetera, will be kind of the replacement model for the A180s. MI300s and the H200s are the looking forward set of models, right? Kind of the newer generation. And of course, the RTX 4090s crowd favorite there as far as inference capabilities go in a true fashion. So, and A6000s, which kind of round out the lower end of those particular models to service, clients on that side of the spectrum. That's it. Fire away.
Perfect. Go ahead, Zeke. I see your hand up.
So a couple of questions. I'll start out with, it looks like the timeline for this is going to be 6 to 9 months. Is there any thought in wanting to do 5090s because those are going to release in spring of 25?
That's a great question. Probably, right? I think in terms of committing, just to give you an idea, in terms of committing to these chips, so hypothetically we go out to 6, 7, 8 different providers and look for these resources. Right, 4090s, we have 204 here kind of roughly allocated. That doesn't mean we'll take down a swath of 204 all at once. It'll probably be done in tranches. So in that vein, if there's excess funds that we want to reallocate when the 5090s come out, I'm sure we'll do so. I currently not envisioned here, but I think we should be flexible over time for sure. But Anil, I was just going to say, if Neil, if you could please take that on, that'd be great.
Yeah, and actually, that's a good question, Zeke. One of the other things to keep in mind here, and Cheng, keep me honest on these numbers because we did them a while back. I may be confusing some of them. The numbers that are on this chart that Tyler is sharing, these include GPUs that are committed currently and GPUs that will be added in the future, because
That's
we
right.
have, as Cheng said, if you go and look at stats.akash.network today, pretty much all the GPUs of all the models are being utilized. And so our utilization rate is really high. What that means is that there are actual customer workloads running on the GPUs that we have committed contracts to right now. And so what that means then is that as these contracts get to their end, we can't just abandon the existing GPUs that have customer workloads running on them. So we have one of two options. We can either work with those existing customers and offer them potentially, you know, the next generation GPU and then transition them to these new clusters, or we can continue, maintaining the existing clusters. So I think we'd have to sort of look at these a little bit on a case by case basis. But your point is completely valid, which is we have to look at the next generation of GPUs in many of these cases.
Excellent. Thank you, Anil. Go ahead, Zeke.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then my next question is there was added after some discussion the 5 to 10% for community members. What's going to be kind of the process on, if I'm a community member, how do I go about trying to get, approval, whatever, to be, getting some incentives to do so? Like, what's going to be the process for that?
I think we'll have to probably iron that out when the time comes. It really depends on I think the parameters that we set are roughly that of a tier 2 data center requirements, right, Zeke? So with that being said, I think as long as the community provider can uphold these, of course, quality, availability, density, all those requirements, and I think it's really just an open discussion. I don't think there's anything too structured at this point in time. Anil, I hate to hot potato this over to you once again, but I'd figure it seems pretty straightforward, right? The structure here or the requirements. So I don't imagine there's too much vagaries here to deal with.
Go ahead, Anil.
Yeah, So I think Tyler's sharing that portion of the screen, Zeke, after some of the feedback from you and other folks that have been really strong providers on the network for a long time. We added those bullet points specifically for trying to outline what would be potentially the criteria for somebody that could be eligible for the community portion of this pool, including the percentage allocation to community providers. So, definitely take a look at that if you haven't already, and please provide feedback if that sounds good to you. But that's a general idea. And again, this is kind of a precursor to us implementing, an on-chain mechanism for allocating funds to all community providers and not just a subset of them.
Yeah, makes sense. So that just be, a GitHub discussion that would be messaging someone at the core team. That's good. That's kind of what I was talking about.
That's correct. Yeah, it'll be pretty manual for now because we just don't have the resources within the core team to go and implement what is needed for us to be able to have on-chain incentives and not get into some of the problems that some of the other GPU marketplaces have had with, cyber attacks and spam accounts and things like that.
Okay. And if I'm interested, would that just be, sending you or Chang a message? Would that be sending Tyler a message? Would that be, doing a GitHub discussion? What does that look like if I'm interested?
Yeah, so I think if there are people that are within the community that meet the requirements of, so I guess there's two steps to this, right? One is the community and people that review this proposal agreeing on the criteria that's outlined in the proposal here, specifically the bullet points below the table that Tyler is sharing. And then assuming that that is good and this proposal actually passes, then the process would be if the community provider meets those requirements, then the core team, being the stewards of driving this the provider incentives pilot, would ensure that those criteria are met, and then ensure that there is fair allocation of resources across all the providers that meet that criteria.
Much appreciate the questions and the responses. Again, If anybody has anything that any other questions, thoughts, feel free to drop in the GitHub discussion. I'll follow up with any updates as pertains to just like structure. Again, as Anil mentioned, it's going to be manual, but we can fine tune where the best place for people to interact. And I'll make that I'll drop a comment over the next couple of days with how to do that. Again, this is on chain for proposal or on chain for vote right now. So again, please vote if you haven't, and again, continue to drop in messages in this discussion, and we'll continue to track it at SIG providers or other meetings. Cool. Any other questions as it pertains to PIP number 2? Terrific. I'll also drop in the recording and transcript from this steering committee meeting as a comment as well, just so people have it easily linkable. Real quick, another discussion update that I want to call out. Adam, with support from other members of the team, has updated best practices for governance proposals. Again, these governance proposals is the best way to get funds from the community pool. Again, the community pool is available to all members of the community and is a great resource to get people building and helping to grow the Akash network. Through feedback, through the last year plus of seeing things in action, again, there have been some updates made to the governance proposal guidelines. So please take a look at those, and it'll tell you, how to start off, from an idea to getting a request from the community pool and having conversations with the community. So again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them as comments, but please take a look at that discussion around best practices for Akash governance proposals. All right. Is there any other discussions that anyone wants to talk about right now? All right, if not, then usually this is a portion where we just open it up for discussion. Real quick, I know we only have 9 minutes left. I want to be respectful of folks' time because I know people take time out of their busy days across both the core team as well as other community members. So is there any other topics that anybody wants to discuss right now? Cool. Well, much appreciate Rare Protocol team for joining us. Thank you to Chang and Anil for fielding questions around PIP02. Again, please get involved in discussions. Please stay up to date on all the things that are going on across the Akash community by looking at the project boards. There's a number of ways to contribute if you look at the bounty boards. As you look ahead, again, there's a working group for Akash YouTube that'll be added to the calendar soon. Zealy meetings every week. There's also going to be, SIG chain. We'll talk a little bit more about the Cosmos SDK 47 upgrade. Again, we get updates on all things provider related at SIG providers. So there's just a number of meetings that happen throughout the month where you can get involved, have very, very specific discussions around themes and topics. I know there's a number of folks that are going to get more involved in SIG support. Again, support is where issues that are related to the Akash blockchain and just a core code base go. So again, if you want to get involved and contribute there, or just learn more about how Akash works, under the hood, please get involved in SIG support. Much appreciate everyone's time today. Look out for announcements on Discord, on social media, and again, just continue to just reach out and stay involved. But again, much appreciate everyone's time today. Hope everyone has a great rest of their day and a happy Halloween if you celebrate.